tuned into the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast, episode number 65. And we're here at the Iowa Prison to Pipeline Criminal Justice Reform Seminar. We are having a beautiful time. We've got great guest speakers. We've heard from Pastor Bell. We've heard from Joe Johnson. We've heard from many others. Marcus McIntosh from News Channel 8. Stay tuned as we continue to bring you all this action live on location. I want to start off by saying we welcome everyone here. I want to talk about probation, okay? So anyway, I'm going to start off by telling my story, all right? Born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. Went to Johnston High School after had a basketball career, played basketball, received a full ride scholarship to play in college. Played at North Iowa Area Community College first, and then went to the University of Hawaii, Hilo. Was blessed to be able to play. After college, I came back here to Des Moines, Iowa, and I got into selling drugs. After that, I went to prison, okay? I did 11 years in prison, was sentenced to 50 years in prison. But after giving a 50-year sentence, it was really tough for me to be able to go into prison and realize that I had to go do 11 years straight. However, I did it, and I couldn't do anything but get on my hands and knees, and I asked the good Lord for forgiveness of all my sins, and immediately He started using me right there. Right there in prison, I met guys like Anthony Cole, who was running the Leaders Program. And the Leaders Program was doing big things. They started selling ice cream out of the windows. They started selling a lot of different food. They started doing a whole lot of different things that was contributing to the prison, to the inmates, the guys. It opened up the door for people to be able to use the money that they had to be able to buy things that they were never able to get in prison. And so I asked Brother Anthony Cole if I could participate in one of his fundraisers. Now, in Des Moines, Iowa, or in prison, Des Moines, Iowa, and Waterloo did not get along with each other. Okay, there's always this little feud where the people from Waterloo, the people from Des Moines, the people from Burlington, the people from Cedar Rapids, the people from Mason City, everybody was kind of separate. Me and Brother Elmo, we call him Elmo, his name's Anthony, but me and Brother Anthony Cole was in Bible study together. We was in Bible classes together, and we was learning and we was growing in the Lord. And I went up to Brother Cole and I asked him if I could help him with his fundraiser. He had a fundraiser coming up through the Leaders Organization. And you know when you're in prison, a fundraiser allows you to be able to, if you're a worker, you can get extra things like some of the extra stuff that was that's left over. You get prizes, you get some of the leftover food and this and that. And so I knew that was coming. He knew that I knew that was coming. And rather than him deny me and say no, he said yes. He said, yes, you can help. Yeah, you can be a part of that. And that started a bond there between me and him, and it kind of started breaking that tradition of Waterloo and Des Moines. And so we came together. He allowed me to do that, and I never forgot about that after that. And I then went on to Rockwell, and I started the I.M.A.G.E program. And that's where we are today. And so, but I always like to tell that story because it's so important to reach back and never forget where you came from, never forget the people that helped you along the way. There was a lot of lifers that did the exact same thing. There's some people here, Brother Clarence Lee was also in prison with me. And so Brother Mir was there. I think everybody almost in this room, probably other than the ladies, Brother Bernard was there, my cousin, Dentario Lee, Scrapper, I was in there with him. Yes, and so prison was there's a lot of people there that you find that you met from your hometown, some your family, and so it was never a place that you could feel comfortable at. And after getting out and starting the I.M.A.G.E program, by the way, I.M.A.G.E stands for Inmate Movement Against Gang Evolution, and we are now 501c3 in the community.
Awesome.
Yes, so probation. Getting back to Nancy Huizinga and probation, this was very, very important to me because I found out a lot of people did not know about probation. So the worldly definition of probation, and you have two different categories. You have formal probation and informal probation, okay? And there's a huge difference because most of the time if you have a felony case, you'll be given formal probation. That means you have a probation officer that you have to check in with, you have to give UAs, you have to report, at least start off probably twice a month, and then as you continue to move up levels, your time reduces. But the difference between formal probation and informal probation, the primary difference is suspension and the supervision. Formal probation involves regular reporting to a probation officer, while informal probation, also called summary probation or unsupervised probation, does not require regular meeting with the probation officer. Formal probation is a more stringent form of supervision for higher risk offenders, while informal probation is a less restrictive option for low risk offenders, typically for misdemeanors, who are expected to adhere to court-ordered conditions and stay out of trouble on their own. So when you get formal probation, the judge will give you a suspended sentence. And most of the time, you don't realize that you have that suspended sentence hanging over your head. You know it, but you don't really understand. There's a lot of people that still get probation and have that formal probation and have that suspended sentence, and they don't realize that they have that time hanging over their head. For instance, if I go to court and say I was convicted of selling crack cocaine, and the judge says, okay, I'm going to give you 5 years probation with a 25-year suspended sentence. Well, what does that mean? That means that I have 5 years of probation, okay? I have to complete that 5 years of probation. You can get off early if you complete your probation well. However, you have that 25-year suspended sentence still hanging over your head. Now, you could do 4 years, 11 months and violate your terms of probation, and then that 25-year sentence that was suspended is now imposed. You go and get revocated through a judge. Your probation officer recommends that your probation be revoked and original sentence be imposed. What that means is now that whole 4 years and 11 months that you served on probation means nothing other than maybe the jail credit that you may have served going into jail. Now that 25-year sentence comes into play, you're sent off to prison serving a fresh 25-year sentence. Now, most people don't understand that, even the people that were on probation, let alone family members. So that's one of the reasons why we had this seminar. And I really wish we had more people here to be able to get this kind of knowledge and understanding. I did what I could to put this out there. I did what I could when we had it on the radio. Maybe Saturday mornings are kind of hard for people to get up to after a rough night. Really don't know. But this message is so important that that's why we're here today at this event. And coming up next to speak is Pastor Ben Bell, and he's going to talk a little bit about probation as it relates to the community. He has been a pillar in the community through the John R. Grubb YMCA, the DADS program. He's got a transitional housing program that I've been able to utilize through I.M.A.G.E for Lives. And this man has just done a great job in the community in helping young men and women overcome probation. So let's hear from Pastor Bell.
Good morning, good to be with you. I'm going to do like I do people at church. I wear a coat so they know I'm a Christian. I take it off so I can be comfortable. All good Christian preachers wear jackets at church. Well, thank you for being here, and I am excited to know that there are people who care about what's taking place in our community. And I think it's important for us to understand that in some ways, as Robert was sharing, people in our community, and we know that many times this more so relates to black and brown, are like fish. I often ask guys when I sit in front of them, does a fish know it's wet? No, because it's raised in a watery environment. Many times, things that are in our community that can affect black and brown more than they do the dominant culture aren't really noticed until something like Robert was referring to happens. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so most people who grew up like I did don't understand what they're running into. Is that on? Okay. If it goes off, I don't care. Bobby told me I had 10 minutes, and that's good because I preach by stopwatch on Sunday mornings like most preachers don't do. What we do is we get you in there, and then we hold you because we have you. But I don't do that. I give them about 35 and I go eat some good food. So anyway, as a boy, I was raised on the front seat of the pew in church. My dad sat here. My mom sat directly behind me. 4 boys and 1 girl in the middle. She was the queen. All she had to do was go, ah! My dad would say, what happened? And then it was a problem because I was the oldest, and so I was the one who got dealt with first because I'm supposed to be protecting my sister. So growing up on the east side in a community from 14th all the way down to like 18th, that was the largest black home ownership in the city of Des Moines in the 60s and the 70s. More black people over there owned homes than anywhere else in the city. And so I grew up with African-American men who were Shriners. You know those little cars you ride through the parade? This generation hasn't seen that. So when I tell them about being a Sunday school kid, growing up in youth group, my mom being over the youth, my dad being a deacon, worked at Armstrong, which ended up being Pirelli, changed to Titan, raised 5 boys. One of them was goofy in the head. He's the oldest one. I think I just told you about him. I wait till I get 50 to pick up 2 doctorate degrees. One of them is in theology, and the other one ends up being as a chaplain. So I run into prisons. I get trained as an employee, chaplain, but you know the training I got? I got CO training. They trained me how to extract people from cells. And I'm like, I won't be doing that. So what am I saying? Many times we're placed in environments where we don't get the kind of training we need to serve people better. That's like a doctor who goes and starts working at a hospital and he took theology in college. Well, thank you for the Bible training, but sir, I need you to work on my heart, my physical heart. So what I'm saying is many times we aren't trained to do the things that we do. So I go get involved in all these things. And what I find out in my upbringing is that my mom and dad were training me how to believe one thing more than anything. and that is in the intrinsic value and worth of all human beings. My mom told me, she said, son, I think you're wonderful, but don't believe it. Because I'm your mom. What are you worth outside this house and in your community? So that's what I place my value on how I help people. And my biggest problem is I think people are wonderful. I think all people are wonderful. I think I can help them. So when I end up being the guy who goes to Duluth, Minnesota and takes the Duluth model for guys who are ending up with a domestic and come back home and start serving people, I serve them as if they're going to get better. Because I believe with help, people get better. One of the things that some of you may not know, and I'm fishing fast here, is that sometimes when black and brown kids go to jail, somebody tell me real quick, what's the first thing you think their parents do? Anybody, just blurt it out. What do their parents do when they find out their kid's in jail? And their kid never been in jail before, what's the first thing they do? Yeah, and how do they do it? Say that again? That's right. And most of the time what they do is they find out what the bail is, they pay it, and their kid goes out. But sign these papers first and plead to this deal. What's the first thing that happens when you do that? Now you're on paper. Why am I telling you that? Because most times the dominant culture, when their kids go to jail, they say, son or daughter, you sit there and keep your mouth shut, daddy be back. 2 days later, they come and get it with an attorney. They go to jail. They go to court, and they normally beat it if the charges aren't that bad. Whereas the black and brown culture is sitting around on probation that fast without even going through the system, because all they want is their kid free. Why? Because the worst thing you can do is end up in jail if you're black and brown, because historically, we're the ones who were in chains anyway. So our parents say things like, son, don't ever let people put you in chains, because your forefathers had to go through that without doing anything. So don't you do something to get that done. Right? And my mom and dad were from the backwoods of Tennessee. They told me, if you get picked up by the police, you probably should stay with them, because they'll treat you better than we will for what you did, which is embarrass us. So my mom said things like, if you get picked up by the police, I will beat the black off of you. And I believed her. And Dad was standing there like, yep, and I'll help. So I lived my life trying to not get in trouble. But I had things like Cub Scouts and a youth leader and people in the community. And the same message that I heard at church, my Cub Scout leader was saying that same thing. My teachers at school were saying that same thing. How convoluted is the message the kids are hearing today? They're hearing something different even from the next door neighbor. Then they get to school, they're trying to figure out which restroom they can use, and if they can trust their president, and do I have to watch my back for everything that's going on? And we're acting like the world is fine. We're raising kids in it who don't know how to operate in the world that they're in. It's embarrassing to me. I have 14 grandchildren. When I lost one the other day, he died of a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at 16 years old. He was a wrestler up by Cedar Rapids. So I'm looking at Marcus because he's way back there. When I look at the world, I look at how my 13 grandchildren will navigate through the mess we've made this world. So my conversations at the dinner table are different than the ones that some of you have. I don't sit around and talk about what white folks did to black folks at the dinner table. I talk about how my kids are going to make it in this world and be something great. And something great. And I don't try to make them believe that the world is wonderful. I say, hey, the world is black and white and good and evil and smells good and stinks at the same time. So what are you going to do about this world that we're raising you in? So when it comes to probation and parole, one of the biggest problems we have, Bobby, is ignorance. People don't know what they're getting into when their kids do something. There's a program in this city that we put together a few years ago called Second Chance Mediation under Judy Bradshaw, translated to the next chief. What was the next chief's name? Winger. Right? Dana Winger. They let us go into the schools and talk to kids about the spark that's on the inside of them. What they're worth, how they affect the community, what they can do differently. We started at the middle school. We went to every middle school in the city of Des Moines, put together this program, talked to the kids, put together peer groups, talked to the teachers, and said to them, hey, These kids that walk by the office in the morning and don't speak to the welcome desk, you know why they don't speak to the welcome desk? Because many times their parents don't say good morning to them. Because many times their parents aren't there. So don't bother the kid. Say good morning even if they don't speak. So what I'm saying to you is we're raising our children in an environment that many of us didn't grow up in. My dad bought a new car every 2 or 3 years. My mom wanted that car more than she wanted the clothes, Bert, because Dad couldn't shop for crap. He had Mom looking like Granny on some of y'all remember that show? The Beverly Hillbillies. Mom said, oh no, don't buy me clothes, give me money. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying that being in a community of people and sitting back and complaining about what happens at Perkins, we don't have very many villages inns left anymore, doesn't change a thing. We have to get out in the community, tell our pastors, craft your message so that the people realize that they're raising their kids in a world that they didn't grow up in. What kind of things can we put in place to benefit our kids? So a group that I had over at the Grub YMCA was for guys who end up having babies. You know, everybody that has babies, you know they don't get married, right? Now, sometimes they say I do, and 2 years later they say I don't. And then money shows up and fights over the money and all that. So we put together this group where if a guy goes and gets education for 12 weeks, he can get his state-owed child support removed. Do you know what that does for a credit score when that $30,000 that the state imposes on you goes away? Now you can look at a car and an apartment and all those kinds of things. What am I saying to you? I'm saying I got involved and found out where I could help. So where can we help the community with people who get into trouble? When I tell kids about my upbringing, especially black and brown kids, what do you think they say to me when I tell them I was a Cub Scout, I was a Weebelow, I was a Boy Scout, my dad showed me how to hunt? They say, oh, you were raised like a little white boy. How embarrassing is that? Because they think only white boys are Cub Scouts. I have a mom and dad who stayed together until they died. Mine a few years ago. So the images that are in my head are images like my mom who worked at Drake University for 16 years. Oh, you knew my mom?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And then she went to the VA and made some real money for being an industrial cook. And you know the thing I most remember about my mom? There were kids there who couldn't afford the meal plan. And what my mom did was something very strategic, being the head cook. She took these black garbage bags and put lettuce in them. And then she took these big containers that had cottage cheese in them and emptied it out. Bert, she put potatoes down here, steak on top, and corn. And then she put the biscuits on top of like a little plastic wrap, closed them up, and then she said, son, take these out in the back and put them by the garbage can. She told the kids that couldn't afford the meal plan, go out there and get that food, because you're staying in school. You talk about civil disobedience. She could have got fired for doing that, because they're supposed to pay for that food. Mom wasn't thinking about them paying for the food. She's thinking about the education that they paid for, because they couldn't afford. She said, I can get them food. So then during the holidays, she'd bring people over to the house and have them sit down with her 5 kids. Sometimes he'd be an Asian guy. A guy might be from South Korea. Another guy might be from Africa. I don't know why those Jewish guys were sitting in there, because mom was feeding pork. Pork was cheap. I was like, isn't that like illegal for you guys? Man, they were sucking it down. What was my mom doing? She was showing me how to serve a community as best you can with the limited resources that you have. I have people today that sell me cars at cheaper rates. They say, hey, you can just get in the game, man. Your mom's saving me. What am I saying to you? Save people. Whatever you can do, save people. Save these kids. I go down there and tell the politicians, I'm not going away, sir. They told me no. Have anybody ever heard of Project Iowa? I'm a founding member. I had them tell me they weren't going to do it. I said, I'll be back until you say yes. And I'm bringing people with me, and I'm bringing congregations that are going to stand by and say, you're going to give people an education, because somebody can't pay. But here's the benefit. For every $1 you give us, we promise you to get 12 to 15 back in taxes and all the other things. I'm just saying, get involved. And most of you didn't even know me until Bobby put me up here today. I'm busy. I'm 64 years old. I should sit down. But I can't until some other people stand up. Bottom line, I can't. My grandkids are saying to me now, Grandpa, how many jobs do you have? I said, well, I got one I get paid for. But I'm saying to you, I love people. Get involved. Please realize people like Bobby. Bobby, how old are you?
51.
You're 51. Okay, you got 13 years under me. Monday I turned 64. It looked pretty good, don't it? Well, thank you for your time. Please realize people need help. Jump in everywhere you can. Tell the politicians, help people, because the world, as Martin Luther King said one time, we may have come over here on different ships, but we're on the same boat.